Hello, everyone, and welcome to Mer Heroesner Podcast, Season 3, Episode 14, live on YouTube. No mas Facebook. No mas Facebook. It's Thursday, January 26, 2023. I'm your host, Vic and Mike, and as always, I'm joined by my amazing co-host, Mr. Mike Balyan, where we discuss our great Armenian history, different eras, topics, and people. Today's topic is Queen Tamar of Vaspurakan, and joining us tonight to talk about the great queen is Elena Semerdjian.
Do we give her a drum roll?
Welcome, Elena. Thank you for joining us tonight.
Thank you for being a part of the dream team.
Yeah, we announced last year to everybody that Elena is going to be joining the show as a special correspondent, where she will be covering and presenting great Armenian women throughout our history. We felt that, we need a female to bring this to the table rather than us talking about it.
A little odd.
Yeah. Especially we're not women.
Well, especially the fact that, let's say there are certain quotes that were written down on inscriptions and manuscripts and whatnot.
Yeah. So we were going to do the episode with Queen Tamar, but we wanted to kind of hand this off to you for this one. And then every month you're going to come back and you're going to present a new heroine, I guess you can say, right?
No pressure.
And then we're going to interview you. It's going to be like a test, basically. Yeah. Right? Yeah. So, all right. How are you tonight, by the way?
Test?
Yeah. Well, we're going to question her.
Very honored to be with you guys. You guys know that I am a big supporter and a big fan of you guys. I think you guys are one of the few people that are doing an exceptional job in keeping the Armenian spirit and Armenian history alive. So this is definitely something that I'm very proud to be a part of, and you guys are amazing. So.
Thank you. Thank you. Well,
cheers to that.
Thank you. First of all, thank you everybody who's joining us live on YouTube. Again, we mentioned we're not going to be streaming on Facebook anymore. It's just not the right platform for us. So from now on, make sure you subscribe, hit that like button and a notification so you are notified every time we go live or when we post a video. Before we start, I want to mention, we were off last week and we had premiered that video, the interview we did with Candid Coffee, Chris. By the way, if you haven't watched it, watch that after the show. I want to thank Chris for doing that. Yeah. It was great. It was a very candid conversation. We had a good time.
Fun, loose conversation.
But, last week, there was the unfortunate tragedy took place in Armenia where we lost 15 of our innocent young boys who are protecting our borders and bunkhouse fire. And I just want to take a quick moment of silence, if you guys don't mind, real quickly. Thank you. I want to talk about a little bit. It really got to me. There's so many mixed theories, people talking about it, but I think the biggest thing is getting to me is seeing the videos of what condition these so-called bunkers are in, which is embarrassing. It is embarrassing that, they're not even bunkers. They're gom, How do you say gom in English is the right word for it? It's pathetic, and they're using gasoline to heat themselves. And somebody, the only people who can be held responsible is the government, the current government. They complain about the previous nachkinet. Yeah, we get it, but you're in power now. And, they take pride that they're doing this and then nothing's being done. And something needs to change. And I think the diaspora has to unite again and come together. And we need to change something, whatever it is. I think unity is what brings power to all of us as Armenians. Yeah. So, I don't know, any thoughts on that?
Well, you guys want to share? In terms of what the current government is or is not doing, it's something that should be recognized considering the threat from the outside, right? Yeah. You have to give these individuals who are serving for your nation the best possible conditions, period. That's it.
Yeah.
If you come in as an administration, as a leader, whatever the case is, this day and age, I wish this wasn't the case. I think we all wish it wasn't the case, right? Where countries are warring, we have to defend ourselves against the neighbors and whatever. But this is the situation at hand. You come in, first thing you do is you accommodate the people that are serving your nation.
The military.
That's it. Yeah. Period. You accommodate them. I'm not saying put them in the 5-star hotel. No, that's not what I'm talking about. Give them what they need.
Yeah.
That's it.
And that's what was promised.
To protect your border.
Yeah, that was what was promised, and nothing's being done. What are your thoughts?
Well, you guys know that I'm from a military family, so this to me is very important. It's the top priority. Armenia begins and ends with its soldier. And, we're talking about kings and queens today, but our modern day royalty is our soldier. Mm-hmm. They are our first line of defense. They are our sons. They're the future fathers of our nation. The number one priority before anything else is to be securing their well-being. And it's honestly shameful, the condition that we are still in after the lessons that we should have learned after these couple of years with a terrible defeat and loss of lands and life and limb, that they're still not able to get the equipment and supplies that they need. And they're saying, they were heating themselves with gasoline. Well, if you don't provide them with what is the proper way to heat themselves,
proper housing. I mean, those bunkers nowadays, you can build those bunkers in a day. I mean, it's unbelievable how mobile they are, so but well said. You're right, they are the royalty of Armenia, and on top of that, again, I want to mention we're I think day 46 of the Latin corridor being blocked, 46 or 47 now. So those of you we've mentioned in our last couple of episodes already, go to saveartsakh.org, and it's automated. You can make a phone call or email, which will go to President Biden to put pressure. And I think some wheels are starting to turn now. We're seeing some good movement.
There's a little bit of traction.
So, but again,
unfortunately, we have to suffer to the point where it's undeniable for the world to even take a peek.
Yeah,
precipice moment.
Yeah. And my biggest thing is right now the diaspora is so disconnected from Armenia. I don't want to say all, but majority, and I think it's also from exhaustion.
War fatigue.
It's war fatigue. There's that the PTSD of dealing with the loss of the war, because I think what I hear from a lot of people are, everybody, that's all they say, we donated, and they thought by donating we're going to win. That's not how you win wars, but and I understand their frustration, because that's the frustration I have as well. But we need to unite again. We need to become one.
That's how wars are won and fought, is endurance.
In psychology,
you have to endure.
It's called learned helplessness. And I think because our leaders, there's only so much we can do without the power up top. That's why we have those leaders. That's why we give them that power, because that power is something that we as people on the bottom level of the hierarchy are unable to do. That's why they have that. So when they're not doing their part, no matter how much we do, we just can't fill the gap. So we feel helpless that how much we give, we can take the shirt off our back, we can sell our cars, we can sell. But if the people that
they're not doing their job.
So the pessimism, right? With the populace.
That's what leaders are.
They rely on our pessimism.
Our leaders are dealers of hope. They say hope is the last to die, and it's up to them first and foremost to do the work to give us hope, to put that, keep that fire in us and not to put it out. And you guys, I want to plead with all of you to not give up on Armenia. Giving up on Armenia is giving up on yourself. It's giving up on your parents. It's giving up on your history. And that's why the guys do this type of inspirational content to remind you guys of who we are, because Armenia is forever.
Yeah.
And we have to make it so it's remembered. And this is just a dark time in our history. And one day we will learn from these events.
Another thing I want to mention, today is the anniversary of the heroic battle of Karintak, which if a lot of you don't know about it, basically this battle took place on January 26, 1992, and it was a 12-hour battle where basically Azerbaijan had taken over this town, and basically they were going to massacre all the villagers, and Armenians just Fedain, everybody got together and went and like I said, 12-hour battle. Azerbaijan, I think, lost like around 90 of their soldiers. Unfortunately, Armenia lost 20 plus, I think, 2 women, but they pushed them back. They pushed them out, which was the beginning of that movement of going forward. And I know your father was part of that battle, correct?
Yes, he was a commander for Vazgen Sargsyan's Artsiv Mahapart. Vazgen Sargsyan had put out a plea saying that I need about 300 men. Mahapart means Mahove Spartvum, which means no surrender. Basically no retreat. We're going to get this, it's death or victory. And my dad was already part of the team whenever that call was made. And in defiance of the president, Levon Terpetrosyan's orders to not, go into these battles, to not liberate Shushi, these basically are special forces. So my dad was pretty much the commander of these special forces for Vazgen Sargsyan, and they decided that, orders of one man don't matter, and all that matters is to save the
people. He's
people.
not there seeing what's happening. It's easier to just make calls without understanding what's really happening. I'm glad you mentioned that, because it's a way of me segue in. I was introduced to a book by one of our listeners, actually a friend to a show. It's called Black Garden by Tom DeWall. And this man was there during the First War, and he did a lot of interviews, and this book came out, I think, in 2013 or so. I'm not sure. But, as a kid, we left in 88, and the movement had already started. I remember all the protests and this, but, we didn't quite understand what was really happening, who was involved, which parties, what was going on. And this book, in my opinion, is unbiased. For some people might be leaning towards Azerbaijan, for some more Armenia. I haven't finished it yet. I'm almost done, but I want everybody, and I'm going to put it up here. You guys can go and buy this book from Amazon. And I have contacted Tom DeWall, and we are possibly going to have him on the show this coming month in February. I have a lot of questions. So if you guys want to really understand what took place from 88 to 94, and then afterwards, everything with the presidents, with Levon Terpetrosyan and then Kocharian, and it tells it from both sides, and you're seeing almost like, okay, this is what's happening here, this is what's happening here, and you really understand what took place and who really were the people pulling the strings. So very interesting. So those of you who are interested, I suggest to go get this book. Another thing I want to mention, I want to thank Talar Kiosayan. She sent us this book. It's actually it's a children's book, and you guys, and let me put this up too. She's the writer of this book. It's Mom and Dad, Why Do I Need to Know My Armenian Heritage? You guys can purchase this. It's only $13 or $14. And this actually, all the proceeds from this go to the Oh my God, forgot about the foundation. The one we went to the gala.
Oh, the Fly.
Fly. There you go. Oh
Fly.
my God, my brain. Yeah, it goes to Fly, and if you guys know about Fly, they do some amazing work.
They're doing wonderful things.
With all the people who are in poverty, especially in Gyumri and everything. So go. An issue, or are we good?
No, I think we're okay.
Yeah, I think we're okay. Huh, that was weird. Okay, everybody there? They can see us? Okay, good. And then I want to mention the artwork. This is Queen Tamar.
Yes.
And
awesome.
this is done by Roger Kupelian, who's a good friend of ours.
Friend of ours, yeah.
It is amazing
individual and amazing artist.
Yeah.
Visionary.
So he painted this. It's his vision of Queen Tamar, and we just felt that this should be hanging here for this episode. And then obviously that is Mike's rendition of the great Artan Mamikonyan. There's the one with the color background. You guys can actually purchase these canvases. Again, I'm putting it up for you guys if you're interested. There's 2 versions. You can order it. And by the way, I want to mention anything you guys want to order from plug. The holiday sale is still going till the end of this month, which is 20% off. And then unfortunately, all our prices are going to go back up because we just got word that cost of production materials is going up. So we have no choice. So if you're interested, if you want to get your sculptures, go ahead and purchase them now. At least
get yours now before the inflation bugs you.
Yeah. All right. That is it as far as announcements, promotions. So, are you ready to talk about Queen Tamar?
Sure.
No pressure.
So, Queen Tamar, just so to bring everybody kind of to the timeline.
To reiterate,
because we moved forward from this timeline. So Queen Tamar of Vaspurakan was the king of Gagikart, we covered Gagikartsuni. We mentioned her in there a few times, but this is taking place in that timeline where Gagikartsuni was got crowned as the king of Vaspurakan, and then he developed the entire Van region to this amazing metropolitan area, you can call it, right?
Yeah.
So
big trade.
Yeah.
Big center of everything.
Yeah. We wanted to, because again, there is this part about her. People need to know about Queen Tamar because she did some important things as well, especially for the church.
Certainly.
So, all right. So let's begin. Ready?
Take it away.
Take it away.
So this is about Queen Tamar of Vaspurakan, not to be confused with Queen Tamar the Great, who was one of the founders of Georgia.
Yes.
Actually.
And that's later, like it's about 100 years later. Yeah, I know a lot of people when they type, if you search Queen Tamar, she comes up. So, yeah, good point.
So aside from the central kingdom of Bagratid, during the 9th and 10th centuries, a number of junior branches of this dynasty also sprung up. In 894, Hamam Bagratid was crowned as king of eastern Armenian lands, thus reestablishing national statehood in the easternmost part of Armenia, whose many queens have been mentioned in prior podcasts. In 897, King Sambat I also crowned Armurse Bagratid as the king of the junior Bagratid branch of Georgia, also known as Iberia.
Yeah.
The Bagratids continued to rule Georgia until 1801. The Bagratids in Georgia were gradually Georgianized, which contributed to the fall of various parent Armenian Bagratid kingdoms in the 10th century. Several Armenian first ladies of this junior branch in Georgia should be noted. Among them is Queen Sophie, wife of Bagrat II, who reigned from 958 to 975. She was also the daughter of King Ashot III the Merciful.
Yeah.
The queen has left many inscriptions in cathedrals of Meren and Alaman, where she calls herself the Queen of Armenians and Iberians. Another queen that is worthy of mention is Mariam, the wife of Gheorghi or Gurgen I.
Gurgen the First, yeah. Georgi.
Georgi.
Jora.
Not the same Georgi. It's not the
It's
same
not the
Georgi.
same
Yeah,
Georgi.
not the same
Yeah,
Georgi.
yeah.
Yeah, that was a different guy.
They reigned from 1014 to 1027, known as the King of Abkhazians and Georgians. She was also the granddaughter of Gagik the First Bagratid of Ani, daughter of Queen Zawa and King Senekerim Artsruni of Vaspurakan. Due to her and Georgi's firstborn son's young age, who was 8 years old when he was crowned as Bagrat IV, Miriam became the sole regent from 1027 to 1037, and she was essentially the sole ruler of Georgia.
For about 10 years. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. It's funny. Georgians and Armenians, the common roots. A lot of people don't know that Georgia, a lot of the kings, were Armenian. The queens were Armenian. And then it eventually started mixing with Iberians.
If anyone can correct me, I've driven. Okay, so I haven't spent time in Tbilisi. I don't know if you have. I don't know if you have. I spent a day. It's not enough time in Tbilisi, right? We were driving through. It's a long story. Whatever. Blah blah blah. We spend a whole day there, but I noticed some statues, and the people that I was with, obviously Banikia Revansis and whatnot, they obviously know what these statues signify. Told me that. And I never knew anything about them, that they were famous Armenian individuals, whether they be generals or kings or whatever the case is. I don't know what it is. I haven't looked into it, but there are big statues in Tbilisi that are of Armenian generals or Armenian kings or whatever the case is. I got to look into this. If you guys want to look into it, go ahead. But I mean, it's a beautiful city first and foremost.
Yeah.
But it's kind of interesting. They still have that up today.
Well, it's their roots. I mean,
we're talking about 1,000 years ago.
Yeah, of course. Well, I mean, talk about how many generations have come and gone.
Think about that connection.
But that's the thing. Whatever, and we have in 2 weeks we have a guest coming. We're going to talk about genealogy, and imagine how many Georgians nowadays, as diluted they might be. Their roots. Most of their roots are Armenian. And I wonder, how the Georgianization, I guess, if that's the right way to say it, how it took place,
where it all spawned from.
Because I get it. Royalty used to mix, but for the longest time, it was Armenians ruling that region.
Yeah, I was about to say the same thing. Yeah. Think about all the things that you and I have discussed, and how many kings or rulers or whatnot, governors, whoever the case is, has had some sort of control over the Iberian and the Albanian peoples. Yeah. Which is right directly north of the Armenian Highlands, right? Which is modern day Georgia. Mm-hmm. There has to be, even a further back connection or lineage, something that spawned from, God, maybe even more than 1,000 years ago, that just remained there. Yes, we don't hear about the Iberians or the Albanians anymore. Not the Albanians that there is today from Yugoslavia, and not the Iberians from the Iberian Peninsula, but in the Georgian region, these people, there had to be commingling, and there's something there at some point in time.
Yeah. I want to mention, by the way, guys, the pictures you are seeing from on the screen, these are all from Hawk, who was on our show. He has provided these amazing shots. He said this is all Van region with Akhtamar Island. So hopefully you guys are enjoying the visuals here while we are in that little corner right there. All right.
Visuals are better than us.
That the two things that are important to note is the time and geography in that region, because we know that Caucasian tribes were the first agriculturalists who settled down in one place. Yeah. So that is significant because Ottoman means men of the sun. So it was initially founded on a certain belief, a religion of sun worship. And that's where we have Karahunj and all of that. Yeah. So there's a very long history of these tribes, and basically they united under one belief, which was sun worship. But also it's easier in that small area for there to be branching out because of the geography of the mountainous regions. So
keeps you. Yeah.
it does. It does, because you're on this side of the mountain and someone can be on the other side of the mountain and you're almost a world away.
Yeah.
It's like, do you feel like really crossing it in the next couple of months? Like, I'll send you a message sometime.
And that's why Armenians have such unique dialects in such a short distance.
Yeah.
Because of these mountainous separations.
Less boxed in. Yeah. And then think about all the conquers and conquests, right? We spoke about anybody going further north than the Caucasus Mountains. Yeah. Rarely. Nobody really did. Yeah. That's where they stopped. This is the barrier.
So once the Ottoman religion kind of splintered off and we became Christian, and then the Georgians kind of got their own identity, and then the Caucasian Albanians got their own identity.
Churches, and who would I think it was more, and we'll talk about this a little bit, it was that thing of nobility of by building a church in someone's honor, or they thought that somehow they were getting closer to God.
Yeah. It's a flexing of power, and at the same time of how powerful your faith is.
But then that created the fractions of even the churches, not just
the sect.
Yeah.
I think something interesting that you noted is the genealogy, because if you look in the genealogical record now, Georgians have a very interesting and unique Y chromosome, the G, which isn't really found anywhere else in the Caucasus. So if we are related maternally, then paternally.
Interesting.
They should have wrong with you.
They took our women. They're like
our half brothers, our brothers from our mom's side.
Yeah, we should have our own with you.
First of all, I want to thank everybody who's joining us live. Thank you guys. Hopefully you guys, sorry about that visual thing. I don't know what happened. The picture went away, but okay, let's continue.
Yeah.
Right.
So anyway, with great degree of reservation, to include in that list an individual by the name of Husudan, the daughter of the king Tahir Joraket Kewik or Gurgen II, who reigned from 1050 to 1089, who was the wife of David or David the Fourth, the builder. The builder.
We've talked about
David the builder. Yes, we have talked about it. Who reigned from 1089 to 1125. Whose son, I don't know if I would say Dimitar.
Is that correct?
Demeter.
Hold on, let's go back.
I've heard Dimitar, but Demeter the First. Anyway.
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, go ahead. No. I'm continue. Don't worry about it. Yeah. It's
so
fine.
anyway, Demeter the First, who was the son of David the Fourth, the builder, from 1125 to 1155, became the successor of the Baghdad king who ruled Georgia.
Yeah.
And we can also include Queen Tamar of Vaspurakan, who reigned from 1184 to 1207. I'm sorry. Yeah. Who also carried the title Queen of Armenia.
And this is the same Tamar we mentioned.
Another Armenian kingdom was established in the 9th and 10th centuries in Vaspurakan, as we have discussed many a times before.
Yes.
Because Yusuf was handing out crowns.
Yeah.
In central Armenia by the Arzuni dynasty. We also know two other names of queens of the Kingdom of Vaspurakan. One of them is Katai, the wife of King Abusahi Hamazasp Arzuni, who reigned from 958 to 968 of Vaspurakan, and the other queen was Zwawa. If that's the way to pronounce
it. Okay, I want to talk about this.
We need to talk about this.
If it's an X, do we say Z or H? Because is it Huawa or is it Huawa?
No. In English, it's pronounced a Z, like xylophone, right? Z.
Okay, but there are... I get it, but there are places where it's still using an X, and it's a completely Armenian name where it's the sound H.
What if? Here's just a...
I'm just saying.
It's a shot in the dark. When we were all talking about this earlier this week, Shot in the dark. What if this is an earlier version of Zara?
It could be.
It could be.
I mean, I had to mention it. Like, what if it was an earlier version of Zara? In some way, this is evolved into, because
I don't know too many Zaras, but
I mean, not the clothing store.
I mean, I know some Zaras, but I'm just saying.
clothing store.
Disrespect the Queen.
Huawa.
Wawa.
Zwa is Zwa. Okay, let's go with Zwawa. It sounds better. Huawa is
Very significant.
yeah.
She was known as the last great lady, right?
Of the
Queen Zwawa. I guess that's how you pronounce her name.
okay.
The Kingdom of Central Armenia. The wife of King Sennacherib Artsuni of Vaspurakan.
Interesting.
In 981, Queen Zwawa ordered a commemorative inscription marking the erection of the Church of Saint Sophia in Varag's Monastery of the Holy Cross. After the fall of the Kingdom of Vaspurakan in 1021, King Sennacherib Artsuni and Queen Zwawa, already messed that up, left for Sebastia in Lesser Armenia or Armenia Minor.
Yeah.
According to their will, the bodies of the king and queen were put in a tomb in Varag's Holy Cross Monastery. The king's tombstone was marked with the inscription, "Here rests King Sennacherib in the year 478, 1029." Now that's what I didn't understand. Was there
the
some
calendar,
sort of
yeah.
calendar thing?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like this is, it had to have been.
Yeah.
What was that calendar based off of?
I don't know.
It's the Gregorian and Justinian
Well, no.
Right now.
Well, Justinian might have made sense. The Gregorian calendar was in the 15th century. Justinian calendar was after the 1st century. So you had a 14-year variation. Justinian was, emperor.
So they had their own original calendar.
Might have been. This is
were
where my
counting
head was
for.
at. Because again, to reiterate for anyone that doesn't know or does know, I mean, it's pretty common knowledge. The Gregorian calendar, which we live off of today, was formed in the 15th century by Pope Gregory VII, who was a tyrannical pope, yada, yada, yada. The Julian calendar preceded that. That was originated in the 1st century, Julius Caesar. So there's a 1400-year variance. So if it says 478, and we're talking about the
1029.
late 10th century, early 11th century,
Yeah.
do the math.
Yeah, where is their
this
start date?
based from?
I
Yeah.
guess.
Where does it start?
This is.
It's such a weird number, right?
No, excuse me. I didn't look into it, but like it made my brain turn. I'm like, this is interesting. Like, you know how the Chinese have their New Year's, their Hebrews have their New Year's, and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
I'm curious about this because it says 1029
With the
But-
Gregorian.
with the Gregorian.
Yeah.
But
In the 470, that's the thing.
Or at the time, the
470.
Julian calendar.
Yeah.
Because it was a Julian calendar.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
Coming to the 15th century.
Yeah, sorry.
478. You're going back to about the late 4th century, early 5th century.
You want to know where they started counting.
Why is that counting to
Yeah.
that point?
Yeah.
I'd be curious. Yeah.
Maybe when their kingdom started, they said day one. Just curious. Yep, there we go. Earth started today.
Yes.
I think what's also a little detail that struck me that really is kind of a wholesome thing is the nicknames for the kings. If you see the builder, the
Yeah.
merciful,
Yeah.
they're all such positive connotations. One is merciful, one is a
Wait till we
builder.
get to my favorite one. Do
Wait.
not say it. Do not say it.
Wait, we've talked about this before.
Which one? Wait.
Wait a minute. No, hold on. Who was it that we were talking about? He was a historian. I forget. Was it the 4th or 5th century? He was a historian on the battlegrounds, and they called him what was it that they called him? I forgot.
Was it? Wait. Now you got me.
Yeah. See, hold on. I'm
so bad. We
forgetting.
should
I
have
gotta.
this.
Yeah, I gotta go back. God, we've talked about a million names, man. Forgive us.
Also, Rikachicha.
Che. No, it was a man.
It was a man. Yeah, it was a king. Yeah, he was.
No, he wasn't a king.
The teller.
It was something like this.
The teller. Something.
Was it the teller?
Was it the teller? I don't know.
I don't know.
Whatever. Okay. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, it is interesting how they gave them. It has to do with what they did. And
But the names were much better.
well, I mean-
From David the builder to Nemets Rubot.
Well, I mean, these things, I mean, I don't know. When I was growing up, at least like in LA with like a lot of Armenians, all they did was talk of like
said
nickname
Nemet.
you because everybody had the same name. Yeah, you were basically tied into the car you drove.
Yeah.
Whatever, John, Mercedes John, or
Žiguli Rubo.
And I think that really actually it says a lot because it says what was valued in those times. Like Žiguli is valued, but these people are known as being a builder. That means that was valued. Being merciful was something to boast about.
Had to be some sort of significant.
It came later on. It came later on. Yeah.
Why was he called the Merciful
Or the Iron King?
The Iron King, right? Ashotierkat. Why? There was something that spawned this thought. It's just like modern day when the media creates some sort of term for any sort of individual, right? Something happened that was significant enough to, hey, this is how we're going about it.
Yeah. Well, so going back to the 10th century, after Nemets Rubo, 2 additional Bagratid offshoot kingdoms were established. These were the kingdoms of Kars and Tahir Joraket, the name of the wife of King Muael Bagratid, who established the kingdom of Kars, has not been preserved. There's no information. It's only known that she was from the royal family of King Sennacherib of Kingdom of Parissos, another offshoot of the Armenian kingdom. The names of the queens from these kingdoms, unfortunately, have not survived either, so we don't really know who they were or anything about them.
Yeah, a lot of the individuals we looked into, or tried to look into, there isn't that much information about them. Really.
But when we were discussing this, something interesting came up. Parissos, right? So right away we thought about Paris. Let's do some research. Maybe Paris, the word Paris derived from that. But the name Paris is derived from its earlier inhabitants, the Parisi, or Parisioi, I guess that's how you say it. It's a Gaelic tribe from the Iron Age and the Roman period. So
that brings up a very interesting point.
Because we know that the Gaelic tradition and the Armenians have a link, and Indo-European languages also stem from
the symbols.
So I think that there could.
I keep forgetting. Anunnaki. I should know this better. We're about to have a guest on. Anunnaki. Yeah, Anunnaki.
So I think there could very well be a root word. For that there would be a connection between Paris and Parissos.
Yeah, it could be. It's interesting, but we don't want to be one of those where we're claiming everything Armenian. I hate doing that, but it's interesting to do some kind of research. Yeah.
It's just a thought.
Yeah, just a thought. The only known names of queen from the kingdom of Kars is that of Queen Koranduk. See, an X with the right. The wife of the last king, Gagik Abbasian. Koranduk was the sister of King Bagrat IV, who reigned from 1027 to 1072, the king of the Abkhazians and Iberians. We know much more about the queens of the kingdom of Tahir Joraget, which is Lori, basically, the wife of King David the Landless.
I see. Did he get like the tax? Did he get the tax collectors?
How are you called landless? Like, how are you a king if you don't have land? I don't.
Well, it got taken from him.
Either that.
I mean, he reigned for a long time, 996 to 1048.
So it's either that, or he was just really bad at managing land, or he might have been like a bully. Like, he just went into places like, dude, I'm your king.
Or could it be that he
didn't have his own lands? Just I'm sure not back then. Because why would you be called the landless?
Be that he came from or his roots are from a place that were unknown.
That could be it too. Yeah, he just showed up.
Just popped up out of nowhere.
Yeah,
Like,
popped out of-
opened up the doors. Like, I'm here, guys.
You know how in Aladdin the genie, you know how he shows up with the fake. That's how he he came with a fake kingdom.
More,
you know,
more movie references.
yeah. But I'm just saying, like he just showed up and
wonder-
faked his way. He had a fake ID of royalty.
This is an incorrect translation.
That could be it too. Yeah, I mean, this information was from the book of 10 Outstanding Queens. So a lot of the translations, I believe, might be incorrect. So I don't know, but landless.
Translation, but we know that a lot of times.
Okay, let's translate in Armenian. Landless. How would you say it? Anho?
Anhoch.
Anho.
It could mean
Aran
something
Soviet.
else,
David Anho.
like without root. Like so, it could.
Yeah, it could be. It could have some sort of symbolism behind it. You know.
All right. Well, okay. So continuing on, the wife of King David the Landless was Zorakirtsel, the daughter of Kiwirki the second, the king of Kakheti, Kivrike the first, who reigned from 1048 to 1089, who succeeded David the Landless, chose as his wife, whom name is also unknown, the sister of King Bagrat the fourth, Bagratid of Iberia.
You know, this kind of reiterates all of these, you know, this is unknown, that is unknown. It reiterates why it's so important to keep these stories on record, what we're doing right now, what you guys have been doing all this time, because so much of Armenian history has been lost to history. Of
course.
And it is so imperative that, you know, history is long. So for us to keep this alive, especially, you know, on the internet forever, whatever we do have, we have to keep and treasure and pass on.
This is like a vocal encyclopedia of sorts.
Yeah. Well,
At least that's what we'd want to do.
You know, we've always looking for history through other historians.
Initially, like a long time ago, Gavok's mentioned it a bunch of times where we got a lot of our history from our neighbors, ring or not. So, especially during a specific time period, specifically speaking about the Urartian times.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And you know your neighbor's always gossiping, so some of that's not true.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. It was on stone. It was literally written in stone.
I know. I think some people are mentioning their audio keeps going in and out. We don't know what's going on. Our connection, everything is fine. We can hear everything clearly here. Our internet connection to the stream is
Let us know.
perfect.
Guys.
So we're not sure what's happening. It could be from YouTube or it could be, we don't know. But everything looks good on our end here in the studio, guys. So we apologize if the audio is going. They're saying they think it's happening when we're all talking at the same. Okay, no group talk.
All right. Do we have like a?
They can't. The audio can't handle it. But no.
Like a talking stick.
Yeah. So, anyways, let's continue.
Yeah.
So similar fates were shared by two queens of the United Kingdom of Tair-Joraket, which split in two in 1113. Both Queen Mamkan, the wife of King Abbas, and Ruzakan, the wife of King David, abdicated their thrones to become nuns. Even after the partition of the formerly United Kingdom, several important queens left their mark and were recorded in history. In particular, Queen Tamar, the wife of King Quirked II, who reigned from 1145 to 1170, along with her offsprings, Abbas I, Vasak, Mariam, Mamkan, Husadan, Borina, and Vanani, who carried out important construction projects in Sanain and elsewhere.
Talk about planning.
Yeah.
Urban planning.
Yeah.
And family planning. It's like, hey, let's have 7 kids. They're going to build everything.
Yeah.
They're going to build everything.
I mean, it's strategy.
7
Strategy.
kids.
Amazing.
Interesting. But I mean, going back to how, you know, they gave up their royalty to the throne to become nuns. That's, you know, a lot of queens did that. It was like, I guess they felt like they should give themselves to God.
It's like
You
an
know.
ultimate show of piety.
Yeah.
That you have this power as a queen, but you choose to serve God.
Yeah.
I think
Interesting,
that's
right?
very powerful,
Yeah.
the strength of their convictions.
Yeah.
So among them, especially noteworthy was Queen Vani, the wife of Abbas II, Quirakan, and also the sister of Zakhare and Ivan Zakharids. In 1195, to commemorate the untimely passing of her husband, she erected the famous bridge of Sanahin. Afterwards, she erected a wall around the monastery of Yovhanavank, as well as commissioned a new illuminated manuscript gospel, which I think is so beautiful that infrastructure and literature was a symbol of love and devotion, and that to commemorate your dedication and love for the people that you care about in your family, that you would create something so grand
in their honor.
Yeah.
I mean, if you compare it to nowadays, how sometimes they'll adopt a highway under someone's name. Obviously, that's not comparable to what they did, but through all the episodes we've done and everything we've read and discussed, we see this a lot.
Dedication.
It was
a lot of dedication.
And the churches themselves, like we're going to be talking about the city of Ani soon, the 1001 churches, right? City of 1001 churches, and building churches at that time it was a gift, right? It was like, and it was mostly almost like in their backyard, right? So that's what they were doing. And when people think about these churches, they're not like these grand churches; they're tiny churches. So it was when somebody from a prominent house died. It was like they built it on their honor and things like that. So that was something in our culture that it has been there for ages, even before Christianity. We built statues, carvings, things like that towards the people we loved who left. And we do that now. I mean, look at all the khachkars that we do. Or when somebody passes, instead of putting a regular, a tombstone, what do? We build these nice, with the granite and the actual picture of the person in there. It's just a way to honor them, right?
I think something that those are beautiful ways to honor someone. But I think when you said city planning, this is a bridge. This is infrastructure.
Yeah.
So roads and bridges and all that. It's
multiple purpose.
Yeah. These were nation building projects that were spurred by your love for your people.
Of course, yeah.
It's almost like Armenia, ancient Armenia was, as a great empire, was created off the love that these people had for
one another.
Yeah.
That's amazing. That's a great way to put it. Wow, very nice. Good job. Yeah. All right, Mike, your turn. Go ahead.
During the Bakratid period, which we've been stuck in for a while, because it's a very
I can't wait to get out of it.
Don't say that, because it's a very important turning point.
It is.
What happened between us being taken over by the caliphates to us more or less gaining our independence at, spoiler alert, but, in a very near future from the time period that we're discussing.
Yeah.
To note, over here, wherever the Tair Jorak gets splits into two, and there are two queens, and both of them have the same fate.
Yeah.
And I think that this is a pattern of struggle to keep a unified Armenia in the face of individual egos. Even today, we have the issue of Artsakh being split from Armenia, and the ethos, the dream, the great Armenian dream has been Azad Ankakh Miatel Hayastan, free, independent, and unified Armenia. And I think that this shows that this struggle has been going on for such a long time, that leaders, for their own power and ego, are willing to splinter the Armenian dream.
And only the great ones have managed to unify.
Yep.
Only the great ones, and there haven't been too many great ones.
Yeah, the ones that didn't allow greed to
there haven't been too many
overpower
great
them.
ones.
That's the biggest that we mentioned it so many times. Greed. That, oh my God, it is, once it takes over you, and
again, it's not just limited to us. This is
throughout history. But what I'm saying is, a lot of the times we've seen, every time you and I complain about this, obviously this is history, but it's that cycle that we see. The main division has always been of greed, vanity, that title of King of Kings. Like everybody had to show off their ego, and ego was obviously the biggest problem.
And some crazy nutcase in the caliphate that wanted to pass out crowns.
Yeah.
I can't get over it. Yusuf.
And isn't that what unity is? It's love for all above love of self.
Yeah.
And those who are able to unify us, it's the leader that loves all his children the same and doesn't favor anyone and wants to make sure that all his people live like kings, not just him and his.
It's a great point. Going back to, and I've mentioned it even on the interview with Chris, for me personally, I felt that unity and love when the so-called revolution was happening. I think most of us felt that, and it was such a joyous feeling of almost like, even though we weren't there, but we felt it through watching it, and our families there from their lives and this and that, right? And it just it was something unbelievable that every Armenian felt, that no other race could have understand. And then obviously after that, but that's what I'm comparing it to, that feeling of unity and how powerful we were. The diaspora over there, everybody was together, right? Because this is for the good of our people. And then downhill.
Cults of personality take over, split us up.
Ego, same thing. The ones who complain about the Nakinet are doing the same thing themselves. Why? Because all of a sudden they saw all the benefits of being on top. The greed kicked in, the ego kicked in.
This one, my cousin works for them, so I'm with them.
Yeah.
I'm with them.
And this thing, we've seen this pattern throughout history, and I keep saying I feel like this started during Tigran's or after Tigran's reign, and that's where we see most of
which was a very valid point. Like, I'd be curious to kind of look into that.
Yeah. What do you guys think? Our audience, everybody's quietly listening to us. Thank you. But
We're
you guys
captivating.
Yeah, you guys can ask us any questions in the live chat. Please feel free. Any thoughts, what we're talking about, join the conversation.
Anyway, continue on during this tumultuous 9th, 10th century time period where you had multiple kingdoms. The Artsuni Kingdom of Vaspurakan was the second most powerful kingdom in Armenia, as we've spoken about, after the central kingdom of Ani. The Kingdom of Vaspurakan was proclaimed in 908 by King Gagik Artsuni, who reigned as lord from 904 to 908 and as a king from 908 to 943. We do not know the name of his first wife of King Gagik, who was the daughter of the nobleman Gregory Abu Hamza. Gagik's second wife was Tamar, the daughter of Sapu,
who we were talking about now.
Who was the brother of King Sambat Bakradid, or Bakraduni. Based on the available information, Queen Tamar played an important role in the governing of the nation. Yeah. Among other deeds, she created the Church of Saint Mary before 912 at the Holy Cross Monastery of Varak. An inscription about the erection of the church was noted in one of the Gospels, which in modern academic works is named after her. Mm-hmm. Judging from the date of the erection of the church, we can speculate that it was perhaps built by Queen Tamar Bakraduni in honor of the coronation of her husband, Gagik Artsuni.
Yeah.
Dedication. We were just talking about that.
There you go. Yeah.
The inscription notes that the church was erected by the hand and wealth of the queen. There you go.
Yeah.
So the historical document. Would you, a female, like to read the inscription? Because I don't think it would be very wise for a man to read a woman's inscription. Sorry, I'm putting you on the spot for this.
I, Moke, servant of Christ and Queen of Armenia, in the year 361 of the Armenian era, 912, commissioned this gospel in Varak's Church of Saint Mary, which was erected by my hand and wealth, through sums donated by myself, King Gagik, and our children. Whoever reads this, pray and remember our First Lady and God of all, so that they are merciful towards us. Queen Mulke's Gospel, folio 137b. Queen Mulke is also known as Queen Tamar.
Tamar,
Yeah.
yes.
Queen Tamar is also known as
Queen Mulke.
Yeah, let's correct that part. Yeah. Very well read. Good job. You did great for your first time. All right. Okay, so the niece of King Sambat I of Bagratuni dynasty, Tamar, also known as Malke, was the lover of calligraphy, art, and floral design. Already a noble herself, upon her marriage to King Gagi Kartsuni, she became known as Queen Tamar. As a royals, you're looking at me all weird. As royals, Queen Tamar was brought up learning various types of art from very young age: needlework, calligraphy, embroidery, and music.
You know, no cell phones. People kept busy.
Yep. Yeah.
I love a woman with hobbies.
Though royals had tailors who would sew their custom apparel with precious materials, Queen Tamar would embroider marvelous work on her own, her husband's and her children's clothes. So she took it upon herself. She didn't like their style. I'll do it myself. Yeah. She even enjoyed embroidering royal tablecloths. That goes back. I mean, all of us have that. I'm sure all of us have those little.
Yeah.
They're beautiful. The white ones, right?
Yeah, the white ones with the blue threads.
Excuse me. Manuscripts show the work made by queen and noblewomen were so valuable that they were often traded for money and weapons. I mean, talk about value, right? Excuse me.
I'll give you a tablecloth.
She was not a queen.
For a spear.
These embroideries would include pearls and other precious stones. In fact, the Catholic Holy Mother of God Cathedral of Ani that was built by Queen Katranit II displayed many of these needle points. Interesting.
I can imagine the work on that.
Yeah. I wish we had pictures of it. We can show it to you guys.
If anybody gets access to that, please.
Historians have noted that popular pastimes included a meticulous needlepoint with a thread of gold and handcrafting. The gold threads would be mixed with various floral and then embroidered into silk and other precious materials. Noble women would create such a high quality dresses that these clothes became work of art. Now, interesting, in 1217, Marco Polo, yes, that Marco Polo.
The Marco Polo.
Was so amazed with the woven work of the Armenian women that had stated that the most amazing and beautiful silk woven come from Yerzhnka. Or is it? Yeah, Yerzhnka, Armenia. The needlework and embroidery by the women of Van Vaspurakan was passed down to generations, showcasing the precise technique of these original pieces. This form of art later became popular in Cilicia, Crimea, Constantinople, Cappadocia, and beyond, and the magnificent work was created to the women of Van.
Did Marco Polo hang out in your country?
Yeah.
Because he hung out in ours.
Not only did he hang out, but he was amazed that he'd never seen anything like this before.
I'm just saying, man.
It's amazing, right?
Famous Marco Polo.
I mean, it's funny. My grandma, she used to, do the needle, those precious and it was such a, what it was? There was something comfortable about those tablecloths, especially the ones for the coffee tables. And you had this little vase that usually had nuts in there, or some kind of mixture or raisin, right? And I remember even coming here as a child, those were precious things that they brought with them. And it didn't matter. Like, I don't know what it was, something comforting about it. It felt like home. And, but then we started taking, like, it became out of fashion or whatever it was. Nobody does it anymore. Isn't that sad?
I think it almost feels like that generation is kind of starting to slip away.
Yeah.
Right? Like, we grew up watching our grandparents knit things and Gari Huserov Banin Sarkum and like things like this, like when they were bored or whatever the case is. Not bored, but to keep themselves busy. I feel like, I mean, I'm not speaking for Armenia. I'm speaking for here. I don't see anybody doing this stuff like that. It's kind of interesting.
When I saw it slip away in 2005, I went to Armenia. And when I went to Vernissage in 2005, I was 15 years old. I was 15 at that time.
I love that place.
So that generation of my grandparents was still, young and vibrant.
Yeah.
And when I went to Vernissage, I'd never seen anything like it in my entire life. It was truly like the old Silk Road. You had these craftsmen with their interesting works and these things that I'd never ever seen before living in America. I was like, Mom, this is the coolest thing. All of these, like you see these old men, these craftsmen with all these cool inventions. Yeah. And then whenever I went back in 2015 and then 16 and then 17, all those grandpas and grandmas were gone. And now we're these copy paste manufactured, everyone selling the same thing. Yeah. And that's what really hit me. I was like, oh, we lost them. We lost those people.
Yeah. I know. It's funny. It was a couple of weeks ago. We were just hanging out as a family, and I was looking at. I love putting on these great like 4K visuals of like great places in the world, and one came. It was a walkthrough through what you just mentioned, and this guy just took this great camera and he was just shooting and walking through it, and it was so beautiful.
Of what?
Vernissage.
Are you kidding?
Yeah. And it was so nice. And my kids were looking at these great, Nardinere, Schachmatnere, and all the works. And then it's funny when my wife was like, if I go there, I'm going to come home broke because you want to buy everything.
You want to buy everything.
You should have seen the bags and these hats and things they had. Like, it's still there. I think it's passed on, but you're right. A lot of them are becoming.
For anyone that hasn't gone to Yerevan yet, if you do go, you're going to end up going there the last couple days before you come back. Yeah. It's almost one of those things. It's like the last 3 days, Vernissage, but I got to go to Vernissage. Yeah. Get ready to drop a lot of money.
Yeah.
There's too many awesome things to buy that you want to bring back home and keep as like a souvenir or whatever the case is. Even gifts. It's just amazing.
Yeah.
It is a remnant of the old Silk Road.
Yeah, yeah, it is. It is. You're absolutely right.
People would come, and that's what, like, I was a kid, but it hit me. I was like, oh, this is the Silk Road.
That's what it was, except on a grander scale, likely.
Of course.
Yeah, on a much grander scale.
Yeah.
But, of course, it's amazing now. Nowhere in the world will you find that. But 10 years, I'm sure, 20 years, 30 years ago, it was something completely different, and it was the uniqueness of each vendor was unmatched.
Yeah, you're right. Nobody, I remember 2010, unfortunately, was the last time I'd been there, and I recall not like next door neighbor vendors, no one had the same thing.
Yeah.
No one had the same thing.
I feel like now those when you see those, especially the backgammons that are carved, I feel like it's all CNC now. It's not even not even really hand, because it just doesn't feel authentic, right?
You can feel the computer in it.
Yeah. Sorry.
No, yours isn't.
Yeah. Nadine, who's actually my cousin, she says I have some works of my grandmother's. Yeah. Well, I know what she's talking about.
Yeah, it's amazing craftsmanship. It really is.
We have to keep those things and talk to your grandparents. Have them tell you their stories of their grandparents and their grandparents, whatever, and document those things. Because right now we feel like, oh, they're here, they'll always be here, but they won't. No. The stories will be gone. So make sure to keep your personal history alive, not just the Armenian history, because Armenian history is just all of our collective stories together.
Of course. Yeah. Continuing.
Queen Tamar enjoyed writing and kept her favorite manuscripts and gospels in her chambers. She was famous for preserving gospels and old Armenian books, spending countless nights creating copies of them by hand. Queen Tamar is most famously known in Armenian studies for a gospel that has been named after her. The gospel, originally illuminated in 862, features valuable miniature paintings from the 9th century and was stolen from Varag Monastery soon after its creation. In 922, after searching for it for months with her husband, King Gagik Artsruni, they offered rewards for anyone who would find it. When it was finally found, they gave away her jewels and handworks as payment. commoners were so impressed by her relentless search for the gospel and her donating her treasures to find it that they dubbed the manuscript the Tamar Gospel. After Queen Tamar recovered the gospel and returned it to the monastery's Church of St. Mary, the queen laid a commemorative inscription inside the gospel connotating these events. The odyssey of Queen Tamar's gospel did not end there. After 1208, the gospel was stolen again a number of times, 7 of which are recorded in the gospel.
7 times.
And each time the sacred book was recovered and returned to the monastery after paying a hefty ransom. In 1830, the gospel was donated to the Library of Machitaris Fathers of Venice, where it has been kept safe to this day. Queen Tamar's gospel is made up of 464 lambskin pages and is written in Erkatagir script, the original calligraphic writing used in Armenian manuscripts from the 5th to 13th centuries. Queen Tamar's gospel is the oldest surviving complete Armenian illuminated gospel manuscript.
Ain't that a thing?
Yeah. Let's talk about this theft situation.
7 times. What is this, like the ancient day Fabergé egg?
Well, I think that she negotiated with terrorists, and they
could have been.
Well, I think
could have been.
I mean, if I was her, I would have just made copies of it, because I think that her paying that hefty ransom, they're saying that the
inside jobs.
They're like, we'll just keep stealing it, and she'll just keep paying.
But that also talks about her innocence, right? How pure she was. That
perhaps
she maybe part of her felt bad, and I mean, I'm sure she could have punished them, right? She was the queen, but yet she said, "I'd rather pay them and get it back." Maybe it was some kind of a way of giving back.
Yeah, I mean, let's look at the bright side of things. Yeah. Let's not
positive.
Let's not look at the negative side of things.
So,
I mean, there's a lot of bad things that could be said about somebody losing something 7 times, but look,
losing.
But she found it. You took the words out of my mouth. I'm not kidding you.
She didn't lose it.
Well, it
was stolen.
If somebody stole something from you 7 times.
No. Hold on. ... Okay. Losing 7 times, you're clumsy.
Again.
Stolen,
you need a better safe.
Better security.
You need a better safe.
Yeah. Something like that.
So, Queen Tamar is actually mentioned in 2...
Whoa, hold on. Before we continue, can we talk about the volumes of
the church in Venice? Yeah. Has anyone been there?
Yeah.
I haven't been there.
I have a couple friends who actually live in Venice. They're not avid watchers of us, but I need to pick their minds about this, because I know they've talked about this on a few occasions. Armenian Church in Venice.
Yeah, I've never been to Venice. I've been to Rome, but I've never been to Venice.
Yeah, I've never actually asked any questions.
This isn't actually. I know someone who owns a book that is a copy of one of these gospels that was gifted by the Pope, or was gifted to the Pope, and then the Pope gifted it to an Armenian. And the Mechitaris Fathers of Venice Church is like an island in Italy that is like an Armenian island, and this church actually has a treasure trove of Armenian manuscripts. And it's definitely, I've heard of people that have gone there and visited. And if you ever go to Italy, guys, make sure to go here.
Didn't Hawk mention this?
Yeah.
Hawk did talk about this.
Yeah. Hawk actually has pictures of some of these manuscripts, but obviously, some of the stuff can't be shown. He worked for these. He has them. I know he has them, but it's just we can't display them, unfortunately.
Speaking of the Roman Catholic Church in that time period in that area, Queen Tamar is mentioned in 2 encyclicals, which are basically are papals, like letters written to the papacy of some of the bishops in the Roman Catholic Church.
Yeah.
The first of which is related to the immediate period after her and King Gagik's coronation, and the second refers to the period after the passing of the king. The first one is known under the title The Encyclical of Saint Alberkai, if I didn't butcher that, of Vansmois, or the history of divine understanding of the Holy Cross of Saint Albert. It tells the story of a visit to a boy who was resurrected through the power of the Holy Cross of the monastery of Vandir, Saint Albert of Moose. In order to witness the miracle of God, the boy was also visited by King Sambat I Bakradid, or Bakraduni, along with his wife, Queen Sahanducht, and King Gagik Arzuni, along with his wife, Queen Tamar.
This is when they were friends.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I quote, "We, King Sambat and Queen Sahanducht of Armenia, and my sister's son, the new King Gagik and Queen Tamar, along with many lords and notables, came."
And rested.
We came.
We came.
That is all.
Yes, Eka.
It was literally
Yep.
a stamp.
I love the way they.
I was there.
I was there.
That's it.
Yeah.
Shut. The second one is the encyclical of Ahtamar, which tells of the death of King Gagik Arzuni and his relatives' grief over the passing of the king. Unfortunately, we do not have or know the year when Queen Tamar died. From the encyclical, though, we learn that she mourned the passing of her husband for 3 years, which means that in 946, she was still alive. And regardless of the length of her physical lifespan, the memory of the enchanting queen endures even today through the earliest surviving Armenian illustrated Gospel of St. Mary's Church of Varag, and significantly bears her name. The queen also lives on through her portrait, which gracefully gazes upon the beautiful Lake Van from the high facade of the Ahtamar Church of the Holy Cross.
And you guys are seeing the pictures as we are talking.
Your timing, sir, is impeccable.
I try my best. Now, there's a historical document where it reads, "And Gagik reached the old age of 90 and had reigned for 60 years and gave his lives to Christ in the year 422 of the Armenian era, or 973, on Thursday, the 6th day of the month of Hori," which is September 15th. Again, we got to figure this out. In Ahtamar. And for a year and a half, the country mourned his passing. Queen Tamar remained in mourning for 3 years while her son, George, ruled the land. O Lord, through the holy word of young begetter, enlighten with your divine light the soul of King Gagik and his parents, Father Terenik and Mother Sophie, along with his brother King Ashot and King Gurgen, the Lord of Kankvar, Kankvar Fortress. And O Lord, bless all of the relatives and family, and place them on the right of the wise Holy Virgin next to the holy altar of God, all the holy kings, Tartad, Tidios, and Abgar, who have martyred their blood. O God, Christ, bless the apostles and the hermits forever. Amen. Sukias, I guess it's episode, or I don't know what the EP stands for, Raikin, the island of Lake Van. This was in 1897, volume 55, September,
Page
412. Page 412, yeah. But again, going back to the year 422, but era 973.
See,
I can't figure that out.
There's some, they must have maybe had like their own way of keeping time, right? Based off of some sort of calendar.
It says the Armenian era, so that might be a clue.
Yeah.
Well,
two mentions now.
If the Kingdom of Armenia was revived in 9...
That's a good way of looking at it.
I mean, if you go to 422, that doesn't make sense, because that's when the whole Battle of Alvaidite and that
close.
The Vahanan,
the build up to it was happening.
The Vahanan war.
Yeah. Vartanans war.
Vartanans and then Vahanans.
Yeah, and then Vahanans.
Yeah.
Vahanans was later in the 5th century. I'm sorry.
Also assuming that it's counted in 12 months, like we know now. It might be it's a whole totally different.
No, Julian calendar was 12 months.
No, I'm saying the Armenian era might not be counted.
Yeah, that's the thing.
The Armenians celebrate New Year in March, isn't it? March 20th?
It's actually 13 days after Armenian Christmas.
No, New Year's is the old.
Well,
Am I wrong?
most
I thought it was March 20th. Or I don't know. Maybe the audience can help us with this, but I thought it was the beginning of spring was considered the
that was the New Year.
The New Year.
That was the New
Year's
Year.
Day was
Hen-
Armenian.
there's a whole story behind that. I won't get into it, but that's where April Fools came out of Europe. The story of April Fools came out of Europe because people were being mocked for still celebrating what was originally the New Year, which was the first day of spring.
which is the 20th or the 22nd.
No, it was April
March.
1st.
No.
Yeah,
April-
based off of, I believe,
Oh,
the
you
Julian
mean-
calendar.
okay,
Yeah.
okay.
So when the Gregorian calendar came in, it's a lot deeper than this. I'll just give you the gist of it.
Yeah.
People were mocked for celebrating the New Year's. The few that did, when the Gregorian calendar took full grip of everybody,
Yeah.
April Fools came about. This is where April Fools really came from. That you people are fools for still celebrating this as your New Year.
Madi says Navarsad is 11th of August. That is our New Year. But that's going back to...
That's pre-Christian.
That's pre-Christian.
Pre-Christian.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
pre-Christian.
A festival of harvest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The reason that I recently actually heard this because they said that the calendars, from what I have heard, is that you have the 25th, and then for January 6th is about
That's the Orthodox.
it's like 10 days. It's like 10 days apart or something.
January 6th is our Christmas, birth of Christ,
Yes,
right?
yes, but they say that the amount of time that's between American Christmas and Armenian Christmas is the amount of time that's between American New Year and Armenian New Year. Is what that.
Well, I mean, even that date is wrong because if you really get into it, Jesus' birth was sometime in March, so even that is wrong.
Well, I mean,
Another thing lost to history.
yeah. I mean, there was a bit of a difference between the Julian and Gregorian calendars because they added days to the months because the discoveries of celestial bodies circling around one another and so on and so forth. We're not going to get into that topic. Julian calendar was different because I believe he added 2 months, if I'm not mistaken. August and July were added months based off of the cycles.
How about we do an episode on this calendar thing?
I mean,
'Cause we're like obsessed with it.
Completely unrelated to Armenian history. Related to Armenian
No,
history.
it's because we're trying to figure out this year for 22.
Yeah.
But anywho, moving on. During her reign, arts and crafts became the heart of Van Vaspurakan, and the peaceful independence period lasted over a century, making it possible for the Armenian nation to produce creations that withstood the test of time. Historical events were documented and preserved. Calligraphy and Armenian miniatures illuminated manuscripts were mastered. It's been said that no art school could compete with the Van Vaspurakan. Around 1,500 handwritten manuscripts were created to teach future generations about color and form, the sun and the moon, and included words of wisdom from the living and immortal gods. These manuscripts tell us a story about a queen who was loved and cherished by the nation, yet she herself was the one who cherished the Gospels. Beautiful.
Beautiful.
Yeah, amazing woman. It's what really saddens me is whatever we're covering right now is so limited about her life. It's almost like, it doesn't talk about her childhood. Obviously, nothing was written because nobody knew who she was until she got. But at least that time she reigned, I wish there was more written about her. And we went back and forth, even with Gevorg. Like, there's nothing in what. This is all there is. Isn't that sad? With the woman that gave so much to the church, to the Von region, and so many things that she's done. And like I said, because of her, like what Nadine was saying, those needleworks, those things that have come across in generations, thousands of years, is because of her, and yet nobody knows about her.
I wonder what happened to his first wife. How did Tamar come to be? Like, who? How did they meet? And what happened to the first wife? And what's all of those interesting stories we don't have.
Yeah. No, very true.
So Queen Tamar played a major role in governing the Van Vaspurakan kingdom. She was aware that history may forget the names of kings and queens, but their deeds would live on for centuries. To honor her husband, she commissioned the construction of Varag's Church of Saint Mary near the city of Van, which stood strong until the Armenian genocide of 1915, and served as a symbol of her devotion to her family. However, today only the ruins remain of this once great edifice. Though the Church of St. Mary may not be standing today, the contribution Queen Tamar made to Armenian arts and crafts, especially the manuscripts that she fought so hard to preserve, successfully stood the test of time and are among the Armenian nation's national treasures.
Yeah.
In 915, Gagik Artsruni ordered the erection of one of the jewels of medieval Armenian architecture, the Church of the Holy Cross on Lake Van's island of Akhtamar, which was built by the architect Manul and took 6 years to complete. Ceremoniously consecrated in 921, the exterior of this awe-inspiring church is covered with superb reliefs, and the interior is graced with sacred frescoes. The reliefs include a depiction of King Gagik Artsruni, underneath the depiction of Jesus Christ. On the western facade of the church, holding in his hand the model of the church. Above the relief of the king, on the walls of the pediment are the head reliefs of two women. On the left is the relief head with a halo of the king's mother, Sophie. The halo encircling her head conveys the message that she had already passed when the church was being erected. On the right is the relief head of Queen Tamar. It is interesting that the king had ordered the reliefs of the heads of his mother and wife in the western facade of the church to be carved high above him, perhaps as a tribute to the most important ladies in his life and their significance as his guardian angels. This is a unique example in medieval art which signifies the reverence of women.
Yeah. It's amazing, right? It just shows how women were honored back then and respected. And you have the mother figure, you have your wife, which some men tend to forget. You know, I always say behind every strong leader man, there's a stronger, more powerful, amazing woman.
Absolutely.
And this isn't to,
turn it into some sort of
but
gender war. But
but it's true. It's true.
It's absolutely true.
And it shows how back then, I think what I'm trying to say is I feel like that honor towards women, mother, has been lost. Something happened in generations and cultures that they forgot about it. They forgot how important women were, and there were leaders, there were queens, right? There's this timeline where women became second-class citizens, and you're like, why?
It depends on a culture. It wasn't all across the world. I mean, we know throughout world history, we're talking about some of the more forward nations. Let's call it forward nations. Yeah. There was, to your point, this second classism, if you will. I know that's not a word. I'm just making something up. But in most cultures, that family unity or the woman's strength was upheld.
I think in Armenian culture, especially, I think even to this day, and I think this shows the tradition of egalitarianism, but I mean, not even egalitarianism, because egalitarian means equal. If you see, the king, has depicted that above him is first God, Jesus Christ, right? Below that is his mother and wife, and then he is below these people, which shows that he is saying that he values the hierarchy to him. Yeah. What a king. What a guy. But spiritual, but literally king, but spiritually also king.
I mean, he did some stuff that I don't agree with, towards somebody, but whatever. But, he again, like I said, and I think that carried on later on in the years with other kings and nobility that kind of did the same thing. But I don't think most of them actually carved their heads and things like that. I think he was the only one who kind of did that.
But I think it definitely shows the respect for women in the family.
Yeah.
And like you said, a woman can make or break.
Yes,
Of course.
absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
I'm full on behind
when
that.
when it's a marriage, when it's a true marriage, there's actually love and respect between a man and a woman. That woman has so much power, and men can huff and puff all they want. Yes, we might be the breadwinners, we might be the protectors and this and that, but without that woman, it's done. There is no more family. The nucleus of family is broken.
Yeah.
But if the man is out of the picture, the woman can still keep that nucleus, right?
Absolutely.
Because she's powerful.
Both of them are so important.
Of course, yeah. That is the idea.
Synergy of it.
Synergy of it.
The
But what I'm
synergy
saying
of
is, like, even if the man is out of the picture, could be not that he left. It could be tragedy. Could be anything, right? The woman still carries on and is strong enough to raise the children properly. Raise great human beings to contribute to society, whatever.
And men, of course, they protect physically, but what I've noticed is that women also protect their men spiritually.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
They're a calming voice of reason. And I think even in given the area that we're in and all of that, Armenians have remained very loving of their mothers, of the women in their life. I personally think that Armenian men are one of the greatest men of all time, even to this day, because they really take care of you like no other man. They will never allow you to pay for anything. They will always protect you in a conflict. They will give their life for you.
A healthy relationship.
The real Armenian, real Armenian male spirit is just like this, where he reveres the women in his life and puts them on a pedestal. So it's really, ahead of it, and puts them ahead of himself. Like girls, get yourself Gagik of Vaspurakan. Gago of Van Nuys needs to learn. Take notes.
Well,
on that note,
many have heard. Oh man, many have heard. We went from history to Van Nuys. Many have heard that the fairy tale about Ahtamar and the nobleman whose boat capsized, but history captures a different tale, one that is much more consistent with the powerful story of King Gagik and his queen Tamar of Vaspurakan kingdom.
Yes.
And finito. That's it. That is the end of the research we had on Queen Tamar, and she again. That picture you guys see right here, the painting. I should not picture. Let me actually get this off the screen. So that we mentioned this was done by our friend Roger Kupelian. That is his vision of what Queen Tamar would have been, more in a warrior style. But again, it just shows how powerful, if you guys can see it, how powerful our Armenian women are always been viewed, even in battle, if they had to go to battle, So, but yeah, interesting, right?
Yeah, I don't know about you guys, but my standards have been raised. Like, if you don't build me a monastery, like, do you even love me?
Wow.
Like, if you
then build me a kingdom. How about that?
If you do not hand paint the gospel for me by candlelight at night, is this even real?
Wow, you're raising the bar here, ladies and gentlemen.
Been raised. It went from gospel straight to hell in 1,000 years.
Man, wow. Get over there.
Get your chisel.
Yeah.
Get your paintbrush.
Yep.
Davai. Let's go.
Or build a church on Linux.
it goes both ways, right? Because she also, like, our queens also created bridges and gospels and churches for their partners. So it definitely goes both
So
ways.
you build a church.
I mean, you already saw I built a table, so.
Well, yeah. It's going to take a little bit more than that. Yeah. Yeah. Well, that was great. How'd you like it? Your first episode?
I think it's really beautiful because you get to really get a peek into the Armenian spirit, what they valued, building, how they showed love through building. And that's why we're a nation of builders. You know, and I think really the battle between good and evil is a battle between builders and destroyers.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it shows that we have been builders since the beginning of time, and that is our core essential strength and a little bit our weakness too.
Yeah.
But I think it also shows how important women were, that with their creative arts, they were able to secure weapons for our nation, that they held such importance.
The trade. I mean, think about it. You know, it's they created such amazing art that these whoever the nations that were willing to give him, you know, weapons valued it so highly. I mean, that says a lot, right? What quality it was at. So
I think it can be translated as a lesson to now how manufacturing
internally can, and actually investing in these things can be so important. Investing in the arts, investing in manufacturing and trade can be a straight line tunnel towards securing arms. Very, I mean, you know, again, not to get back into politics, but we know a lot of wealthy Armenians who donate millions and millions of dollars to again, I don't want to say it's not important, but you know, they'll donate it to whatever gala or whatever, you know, something like that. And that millions of dollars, let's say 2-3 million, some of them spend so much money. It's unbelievable. Obviously it's a tax write-off. I get it, but that money they can invest it in Armenia. And forget this BS about government doesn't let you, you can bypass all that stuff. And so imagine if you invest that into a company that's going to be manufacturing drones or whatever. You know, a strong nation needs to have strong borders, strong protection. I don't care what anybody says. Military is so important.
Number one.
Yeah.
Number one. If you obviously this is talking in extremes, but if you must go hungry, you must first allocate towards security.
Absolutely.
It is the number one priority.
Well, because we've talked about it ad nauseum. How many times have we talked about the divide and conquer and then starving people out?
Yeah.
Starving,
which is happening
right now.
Yeah.
You surround, you cut off all supplies, you starve them out for them to leave, or they die.
Unfortunately,
you know, this is what's going on now.
Unfortunately, we have basically encircled ourselves with the, you know, handing over of the northern territories and the artificial gerrymandering of Artsakh without the mountains of the north that provide water and the farmland of the south that provided food, basically once again has set us back into a state that can't feed itself, that can't, you know, survive on its own. And truly the only way for us to regain our independence is through uniting our land.
Very true. Very true.
So who's gonna be the big guy that unites everybody, huh? Because we've talked about it a few times.
I think it's got to be somebody from the diaspora, honestly.
Maybe it's a woman.
Not to get into the individual soul, whatever.
Yeah.
Not to get into political talk, but it's gonna be who's gonna be the guy or gal.
History is long. We have been around for such a long time. There was once upon a time where Armenia wasn't even on the map, but we didn't give up. So for us, now that we've had one loss, to give up and say all hope is lost, it's over. That's silly.
No.
We was mijn kank van eerlijk kank jeef kamanak.
Yeah.
Hope you enjoyed this.
Yeah.
You guys,
All right.
thank you so much.
So, have you researched what we're going to talk about next yet, or no?
I'm open to
Suggestions as far as? Okay. Well, we got some names we're going to throw your way, but you're going to do the research.
queens.
Yeah.
You know, we
Not limited to.
not
limited to.
We're at, go a little bit in chronological order as much as we can, since that's the theme of the show that you guys are doing. And
Well, we can cherry pick from the past,
Yeah.
because there are some prominent women that we may have maybe touched
Yeah.
on.
I mean, we would love to do a really, really good special on Pot on Zem, which is obviously before this, but still, again, the chronicle, the reason we're doing the chronicle is so later on, you know, I don't know how long
we're
we're
jump all over the place.
Yeah, I don't know how long we're going to do this. Of course, we have special episodes that are off topic, and we'll have one next week that will be really kind of nothing to do with history,
That's
but
gonna be
something
pretty cool.
Yeah, but again, the reason we do it like this is in order for when some kid comes across our podcast and he starts listening from the first episode, it makes sense.
Yeah.
You know, that's the only reason. But when it comes to this, again, we can cherry pick. You know, if you've come across something that you're like, hey, I want to talk about this, great, we can do it. So,
requests on Queen Erato.
Oh,
Yeah, which apparently she was a little bit of an evil queen, I think.
yeah.
So,
We've talked about her briefly.
you know, I think
yeah.
let's do the queens and then we'll get to modern Armenian women.
okay.
Cool. Well, ma'am, that is on you now.
Yeah, there you go. Our
That is
special
amazing.
correspondent, Elena Semerdjian. Welcome to the show officially. I want to mention next Thursday, February 2nd, Vic and Arabian will be joining us from Support Our Heroes. We're going to be covering the situation. I know it's, you know, our talk, and we're going to talk about the First War, which is still history, recent history, but they're good friends of ours. They're doing amazing work. And again, I've mentioned this before, as much as we're a history podcast, we will use our platform to talk about what's happening in our nation.
Yeah.
And if you don't like it, then you don't have to listen to us. So that's the bottom line.
Well, this is living history.
Yeah,
it is.
It is what it is.
We're going to
Yeah.
talk about this in
If
a
we
week,
don't, who
a
else
month,
is, you know?
a year,
Yeah.
10 years, 20 years. We're going to talk about it.
Yeah, following Thursday, February 9th, Mike Cunningham will be joining us. This is an interesting
it's
man.
gonna be an
Actually,
interesting-
he's a teacher. He has a master's in multiple
Like
degrees.
everything.
Yeah, and he reached out to us with some interesting information.
What is
He
lineage?
actually watches us and listens to us. And we're going to talk about Armenian genealogy and the connection of some major historical figures who are of Armenian roots, and you're not going to believe this. So that's in 2 weeks.
Yeah, and this is something that'll probably get you guys, at least what we want, what you guys to do is jump in and start researching some of this stuff,
Yeah.
and even on your record. But it'll be interesting.
Yeah, so that's what's coming up, and then we'll have more announcements. Like I said, I am trying we're trying to figure out what day is going to work with Tom DeWall to have him on our show and talk about Black Garden. Again, guys, if you have not, I really, really suggest getting this book and reading it. There's actually the audio version as well. So, you know, if you're driving like me, I drive a lot. It's good to listen to it. It's really going to help you to put perspective of what happened in the First War and how everything began and how it ended.
Collapse.
Yeah, so check it out. And then again, I want to mention, make sure you go get this book, Mom and Dad, Why Do I Need to Know My Armenian Heritage? You can find this on Amazon. Click on the link, support it. And all the proceeds from this will go to Fly. Again, you guys know about Fly. We've talked about them. They do amazing work. What else? Anything else you want to mention? Anything coming up in your life? I know do you want to talk about that? What you're doing as far as your law situation?
Law school.
Law school?
This law major over here.
Yeah. Thought who better to represent Armenia in the legal sphere than the girl who can't stop talking about it. So, I want to eventually become a human rights attorney and, represent Armenian interests. So I think especially focusing on the UN Charter, Geneva Conventions, and the specifics of territorial integrity and the right to self-determination, which is being ignored. So I think we really need, more lawyers that are specifically focused on that. So eventually I want to become an attorney that specializes in especially the rights of former Soviet states like Artsakh and Armenia.
Perfect.
Awesome.
That is good of you to do that, and we will be cheering you on, and we'll see.
Let's see what happens.
So, all right. So, follow us on Instagram at Mer Heroesner, patreon.com/Mer Hersoner, become a Patreon. YouTube membership, guys. If you want to become a member, we've mentioned this before, just click on that. It starts at $2 or something like that. Support the show. We want to build a community together, and we're gonna do a lot of special shows and one-on-ones, things like that. Once this community is built, like I said, it's $2 a month. I'm sure you spend more than that in your day for Starbucks or whatever. But go ahead and click on that membership. It's on our page, and support the show. Soon you're going to see us, probably if you're hanging out in the Glendale area, you're going to see our faces going around soon. Then you're going to be like, I want to be part of this community. Yeah, it's going to be too late. So
it's growing. It's fun, guys. Yeah. Having a lot more conversations with a lot more people.
Yep.
Like really, that's been really cool.
Yeah. So again, I want to thank everybody who joined us tonight. I hope you guys enjoyed this interesting live we did. This was cool. Usually the reads are just you and me, and it's
just the three of them.
Yeah. So it's great. Everybody's saying it's great to have you on. You're a great addition. So we made the right choice. Again, I want to thank you for being part of the show now. We appreciate it, and I think we're gonna give a lot more information to everybody who's watching us, listening to us on the podcast platforms, and to those parents who are. I'm getting messages of people who their kids are starting to listen to it. So I have schools who are interested. Yeah. We've talked about this. Very interesting stuff happening. So we'll announce all this stuff as they are coming along. So it's going to be busy 2023 for us.
It already is.
Oh my goodness. Good hockey confession.
The merciful?
The merciful? The merciful. Good one. Good one. Oh, you gotta love the comedy of our Armenians. All right. Well, that's a great, I guess, laugh to end the show with. Again, I want to thank everyone who's joining us. As
interesting art piece.
Yeah.
Mercedes logo in the background.
Oh my goodness. All right. Okay. Can we end the show?
Yes.
Okay. All right. As we always say, respect one another.
Love one another.
Until the next episode, take care of yourselves.